Hi and welcome to another painting tutorial by Promethean Paints. Today we're going to be painting a Salamander Terminator from the company Heroes box that was made to order from Games Workshop. As always, I've built the model. There's no separate bits with this one, it's all as one, and I've undercoated the model with Vallejo black primer using the airbrush, and now we're going to add some Vallejo White Ink directly from the airbrush onto the model. We're going to be creating our natural gradients, so our standard sort of method that we do. So pick out the points you want to be brightest and have those the whitest, and have some natural transitions into some dark areas. So I generally go for the sort of tips of the shoes, the centre points of the armour. I'm imagining the sunlight is coming down from, as you look at the screen, from the right hand side diagonally down, so it's hitting more of the right hand side of the armour. So that's my brightest points. You can leave some black in your deepest shadows, or you can just add a touch of white into there just to get some green. It's personal preference, but just make sure you do have gradients from the lightest, which is your white, to your darkest, to your black. We will be going over this with contrast paint, so the same principle works with your contrast paint, so that where the colour is lightest, that's where the colour will show through the most. So just work around this, following along either with what I've done or for your own personal preference. Okay, once that's done, we're now going to move across to put in some contrast paint, some colour onto the model. And for this we're using the Striking Scorpion Green, lovely bright green colour, perfect for salamanders. So yeah, a few drops of that into your airbrush, and then just apply this all over the model. Be careful with this, not too hard on the spray as always. Take your time. Few thin coats of this is better than one thick one. You'll get a lot of running if you apply this too quickly through the airbrush. So as soon as you see the area start to glisten, move away onto the next area. Just go around the model a few times. Obviously the more you put on, the darker the green will be, but this is a very bright green, so it stays bright. So yeah, just work yourself away around the model. If you wanted to add a little bit more contrast into your shadows, once you've finished this, you could apply some dark green, either some Vallejo dark green ink or any of the dark green contrasts like Militarum green, into the shadow areas through the airbrush, but I wasn't going to do that on this one. I usually only do that on sort of larger models on vehicles, but if you wish to do that, you can do so. So just aim that directly into the shadows and give it a few sprays just to get some dark green into your shadow areas. But yeah, work around the model using the airbrush and the Striking Scorpion green. And then all I did there is just, before I moved on to this stage, just gave the model a spray of ultra matte varnish by AK, or you can use just the standard matte varnish, but any matte varnish will do, just to protect the armour, bring it all together. The next stage, as always, is now just going back over all the areas that aren't green, so all the non-green armour area, just anything that's not green, and just painting it back over in black. I use the Army Painter's War Paint matte black, but you can use a Baden black or any black of your choice, and just work yourself around the model, painting in all those areas. Right, once that's done, let's just move on to your first set of metallics. So this is for the silver work. I'm using Gunmetal by AK. You can use Lead Boucher, Iron Breaker from GW, any of your sort of standard silvers. I use this one, it's got a slight blue hint to it. And so the silver on this model, I'm just going to reach over and grab him now. The silver on this model is face mask. There's some bits on the flamer itself. The chain blades, the sort of pipe work. It's actually not too much. But obviously each Terminator will be different, so just pick out anything you want to be the metal work in your silver colour. And for the gold, we're going to be base coating anything gold in AK burnt tin. You could use Balthazar gold from GW, and then we're going to highlight it with AK old gold, which would be Retributor armor from Games Workshop. So for this, it's the Aquila on the chest, the skull on his leg, the skulls on his power fist, a couple of bits on the gun, like the casing of the flamer. I generally don't do too much gold on Salamanders. It seems a bit, I don't know why, but it seems a bit odd. Salamanders would have gold. I've always imagined would have more iron, silver work on them. So yeah, just always base coat in the darker colour, and then highlighting your brighter gold colour. Picking out the individual bits on the feathers if you can, applying the highlights where they would naturally fall. So if you've got a sort of bright point of your armour, as we have on the right hand side, you'd have more highlights on your right hand side, so just pick those out a bit more. once the highlights of the gold is done, we're going to move on to sort of any black areas, sort of the gun casings, the sort of belts. You'll notice on this Terminator that I've picked out the sort of little sort of tubes around his armour, the casings of the armour. Not sure what you would call those. So all I'm going to be doing with these is just edge highlighting in AK Anthracite, which is a very, very dark grey with a bit of blue in it, and then doing the next highlight would be in an AK blue grey. So this is sort of maybe an Administratum Stratum Grey from Graham's Workshop, and then a light grey, the Orthan Grey maybe from Games Workshop. But nothing special here, just edge highlighting around all of your black areas with a sort of darkish grey and then a lightish grey, including some of the tubes, just picking out the points where it would naturally catch the light. Imagine the light shining down on it and just where you'd apply those highlights. Once that's sort of all done, we're going to move across to just painting the parchments and waxes. This is our sort of standard approach. So we're going to base the actual the wax. We're going to base coat those in AK Magenta, sort of a screamer pink type colour, and then once that's dry, we will highlight them with AK Intense Pink, which is a screamer pink if you're looking for Games Workshop. The parchment itself we will base coat in AK Saddle Brown, which is a sort of Mornfang brown in Games Workshop colours, and highlight with AK Light Earth, I'm not kind of sure what colour that would be in Games Workshop. It's a very light tan colour, lighter than Zandri Dust, sort of one up from Zandri Dust. Maybe use Shabti Bone, but I generally use the AK Saddle Brown and AK Light Earth, and just I almost, as I'm applying the parchment, you'll notice that I'm pulling the paint sort of towards me, almost creating little tiny little lines to give that parchment some sort of textured effect. It works quite well. So you just apply this to any of your parchments or banners that you've got on your Terminators. Right, with that done, we're going to move on to their head and Salamanders. So the Sons of Vulcan here, they have a dark blue purplish skin tone, and you can achieve this very easily. So I use AK Oxford Blue as a base coat, and then we will mix in some AK Vamperic Flesh to get lighter and lighter skin tones until we're almost at a Vamperic Flesh on its own as your top highlight. So for this, I think Oxford Blue would be almost Cantor Blue, just a dark blue from Games Workshop, and you would use maybe Pallid Witch Flesh as the GW colours, and yeah, you just mix those. It's almost a sort of 2-to-1 in favour of blue, then a 1-to-1, and then a 2-to-1 in favour of the Vampiric Flesh. You're working through your highlights, so you just use those colours as you would do your sort of normal flesh tones. And then once I'm happy with all of that, I will give the whole face a wash with some heavily watered down AK Wine Red, which would be almost corn red, or maybe you would use Vulpus Purple, heavily watered, Vulpus Purple from Games Workshop Contrast, heavily watered down as a wash, just to give it some contrasts of colours, a little bit of natural sort of look to the skin. We're going to apply some glowing effects to the eyes, but yeah, you'll just see here that I'm just applying these skin tones as normal. Don't be scared of the colour. Where we're using that Vampiric Flesh, or if you're using any other flesh colours, you're naturally going to get a flesh feel, even though you're using it with blue. It's amazing what you can achieve when you just use some of those natural flesh colours. Once I'm waiting for that first bit of wash to dry, whilst we've got the wine red out, I'm just going to go and fill in any areas that I want to have a red glowing effect. I'm going to base those with the wine red. So what we'll do is these will be the lenses, the little holes in the flamer, any vents that you want to have a red glowing effect, the vents on the back of his armour, and I'll also be covering the area of his eyes. So not only where his actual eye is, but if you imagine the eye area is a lens, so I'll be painting around these areas for the glowing effects. Okay, once we've done that, we're just going to do the Terminatus on his left shoulder pad. Pretty straightforward. This is almost going to be a very thick edge highlight, almost dry brushing AK graphite, or that would be Administratum grey maybe, or slightly darker grey from Games Workshop. Just placing that all over the model, all over the Terminatus itself, just to pick it out. And then it will be a highlight with some AK blue grey, so maybe some Ulthuan grey that you would use just to highlight just on the top of the skull, tips of the bones, and any areas you just want to pick out. You could use that same method if there's any of those other sort of greyish areas on the legs or the arms. Some of the Terminators have them in different places. This one just has it on the arm, but you can get it on the legs or on the power fist itself. Okay, this next stage, the longest stage, is adding edge highlighting and battle damage. For this we're going to be using the AK Pistachio green. I think in Games Workshop world you'd probably have to use Moot green with some Dawn yellow mixed in. I'm not sure they have a green as bright as this after Moot green. So what we're going to do, as is the standard method for this, we're just going to edge highlight the model as you normally would, moving the model around and your brush around to get the right edges and the right easiness to do it. But with this we're going to be adding some thicker lines around some of the areas, some bullet holes, some scratches. So yeah, just where you want some damage to be, just add some extra scratch lines. Where you want bullet holes to be, just make bullet shapes with the paint. That's the basis of it. And then later on, after this stage, we'll be going in and backfilling those areas with black. So the principle is, this colour is your highlight of the damage, where the paint has peeled away, or the outline of a hole, and then the black will be the actual, where the damage itself has been caused. I do this because I think it adds a bit of character to your models, a bit different on the battlefield, and also I struggle with a bit of a shaky hand, so it just helps me define the shapes, and if you make a mistake it magically becomes battle damage. And also for Salamanders, you know, they're old, what was it, 5th edition I think, back in the day, they never left the battlefield, so I always think Salamanders deserve that little bit of extra battle damage. So yeah, this principle can be used across all Salamander models you're doing, especially on the tanks. It looks really good on the tanks. So yeah, just work yourself around the model. No editing here. I'll show you exactly what I'm doing. Follow along, add your own damage as much or as little as you want, and I'll join you in the next section. Okay, once that's done, grab your black and put a little bit on your wet palette. Usually you would probably do this section by section, so do an arm, do a leg, do the back, do the bit of the front. I've just done the whole model because I'm sort of used to it. And all you do now is where you added your battle damage, just fill those areas in with black, making sure you leave a little bit of the lighter green as your highlight. Don't fill it all in, so where you've got the bullet holes, paint the area in the middle, leaving the light green as the outside. Where you've got a scratch, just paint one side of it. So if the light is shining down from the right, you would apply your black line to the right of your green line, so the edge is catching it on the far edge. So yeah, just go around now, picking out all the little bits, and that will complete the sort of edge highlighting and battle damage part of the painting. As you can see, you can get some great effects very quickly. We're about 45 minutes in now painting this Terminator, and we've got some fantastic looking effects already, and applying this across 10 models doesn't take that long. You can apply as much or as little of this damage as you'd like. It doesn't just have to be for characters. Okay, with the battle damage done, we're now going to add some red glowing effects. So, we're going to grab some AK Blood Red. This would be Evil Sun Scarlet from Games Workshop if you wanted to use that. And I'm just going to apply this over the top of the wine red, and this will start to create your glow. So you apply more where you want your glow to be. So I'm doing this as if it's going towards the centre of the flamer. I then apply it into the little holes on the sort of casing at the end of the flamer, and I apply it to the very centre of the vents on the back, and on any lenses I apply it to the actual lens itself. So the wine red went around the whole area of the lens, whereas the blood red just goes onto the actual curved part of the lens, leaving a little bit of the wine red showing. And the same on the vents. The back vents is all covered in wine red, and all you'll be doing here is using the blood red to cover the centre 2/3. All this, however that equation works. As you can see here, just filling in those centre parts, leaving the wine red. And you'll notice for the eyes that I'll paint the area around the eyes in wine red, and then the centre of the eye, where the actual eye is itself, brace the model, take your time, nice thin brush, not too much paint on it, and apply the blood red to where the eye would be. So where the white of the eye would be is where you would put your blood red, and just doing that would give you a nice natural glow, but we'll finish that off in a little bit. Okay, once that's dry, we're going to try and get some white out of it. These AK bottles tend to just stick at the top, but a little needle going through. So the white, I'm only going to apply this in certain places where I want it to be very, very bright. So we're going to apply a Fluor effect after this. So the white, just add to the very centre of where you want the glow to be the strongest. So I'm doing this at the centre vents on the centre. 2 little dots on the eyes, a couple of dots on the lenses, and 2 dots on the sort of vents around the gun. So only where you want it, the red to be very bright, is where you apply the white. And then once that's dry, get some Green Stuff World Fluor Red, give the bottle a good shake. There's a ball bearing at the bottom of those bottles, you really have to give them a good mix. And now just apply this red, this Fluor Red, over all of the red you've just painted. Don't have to just focus on the white that you've done. So in all the vent holes, just apply this as you would a sort of contrast paint. It's quite thick, it's very pigment heavy, but yeah, just apply it all over, including the eyes. So anywhere where you want the red glow effect, just apply this paint, finishing, pulling your brush away when it reaches the white, so that you leave most of the red on the whiteness. Yeah, the next part after this will be applying some orange, but yeah, just go around with the Green Stuff World. So it doesn't take long to dry. A little bit of Fluor Orange from AK on your wet palette, and now just apply this only over the white. So wherever you've applied that white, just apply a couple of little drops of that. So on the eyes, on the vents. So anywhere where you've done the white, or anywhere where you want to have a sort of glowy orange as a real heat source, just add a little bit of this fluorescent orange to really make everything pop. And there he is. There's your finished Salamander. So you can do that method on any model that's a Salamander, but we've got a flamer, so I thought I'd add an extra little touch to this model. So from Deadly Print Studios, I got some flamer parts, some flamer bits, some smoke trails. I've glued those to the front of the flamer and base coated them in white. Then once that's dry, we're going to use some Green Stuff World fluorescent orange yellow and just apply that all over the white. Don't leave any white showing. You might have to apply this quite heavily, but yeah, just on top of the white add this. So the bits yeah, you can get from Deadly Print Studios, you can get it from eBay as well, smoke bits. You can get long flamer nozzles, but parts from them, all sorts from Deadly Print. They're really good. You can buy the STLs, or you can buy the physical parts. Take about 10 days to get delivered. If you've got a Salamander's army, I'd thoroughly recommend getting their smoke trails and flamer bits. They really add some character to your models, especially when we're going to do bases. I'll be showing how to do a lava base in a separate tutorial. This base didn't really enable me to do a lava base, but we'll do one separately. So yeah, just add that fluorescent orange yellow to the model. Right, once it's dry, go back to your Fluor Red, and now apply the Fluor Red over about 2/3 of the smoke, making sure that there's some orange left at the base, and the Fluor Red moves away from the sort of nozzles to the edge. So imagine that it's getting cooler as it's moving away from the flamer, so it's getting redder. I do this in 2 coats. So the first one is most of the flame is covered in the red, leaving a bit of the orange, and then I cover about 1/3 in the Fluor Red at the very tips, so it goes from orange to red to double red, to give that sort of natural gradient. Sadly then after that, even though it's captured, the video card was playing games with me on the capturing of it as I was recording, and I didn't notice, so it gets a bit jumpy. But what we do is, once the red is dry, when you've gone from orange to red to the double red, then using some AK Tenebrous Grey and a dry brush, I just dry brush over the top of the flame smoke, so that it gives an even, so the top of the flame is smoke, black, and the base is bright orange. So just dry brush it with pure Tenebrous Grey at the very tips, and then little dabs of it towards the nozzles. And then so as to finish off, even though I'm stuck in time there, I've used the one of the play markers from AK to paint the bases. It's really handy, much easier than a paintbrush. And there he is, there's your finished Salamander with a nice little smoke effect. You can use that method across all of your Salamanders. So yeah, thanks for watching. This is the second video in the Space Marine painting tutorials that I've been doing. We've got Space Wolves, Imperial Fists, Dark Angels, Ultramarines all coming up. I've just done a Blood Angel one, which you can find in a separate video. So yeah, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and happy painting.